Hey, what's going on? It's Nigeria. I'm here at San Diego Comic-Con. This is 2018. I'm at booth 1901 for Headlocked. I have the creator, Michael Kingston, with me. What's up, my man?
How you doing?
Good, good. It's been a long time coming. Thanks for being able to make some time out. Your busy day, actually not even busy day or busy week at all. You're at all the cons. You're at all the wrestling shows. You're everywhere. You're a pretty iconic person, and it's true because you have.
That's the first time anybody's ever said that, but I'll take it.
It's true, and the reason I make a statement like that is because you're showing what someone with heart and dedication can do, and to get something off the ground, and the sky's the limit. Today, we're definitely going to talk about, the progression with Headlocked, the challenges of getting it done, and this future project that my fingers is crossed that we hope get pushed through for you. So,
okay.
Headlocked, what is it?
So, Headlocked is it's sort of my dream passion project or whatever. I was a wrestling fan and a comic book fan since I was 8 years old. I bought every wrestling comic that ever came out, and they weren't for me, you know. Undertaker fighting demons, Kevin Nash's Mad Max, that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
and it just wasn't my thing. So eventually I just decided that nobody was going to make the book I wanted to read, so I made my own, and I pitched it to everybody, and nobody wanted it. So I just published it myself, and I started out selling my book at wrestling shows out of my backpack, and then I started buying convention tables. I mean, I worked 2 jobs for a whole year to pay for enough money to pay for my first print run, to get some T-shirts, and pay for a round of convention tables, and then that kind of started the ball rolling.
Yeah.
And then wrestlers who like comics would be at Comic Cons. They buy books from me. They tell me they like it. You know, Hurricane, Rob Van Dam, Christopher Daniels, those guys. Yeah. And then they help give me a signal boost. And then Jerry signed on to do the covers, and that, everything just started moving. And then, we just kind of grinded for a couple years, and then Kickstarter became a thing, and then we were able to take the book to Kickstarter, and then that's when it kind of blew up.
Yeah.
So we've raised $100,000 on Kickstarter to produce 4 books so far. We've had 30 different wrestlers contribute to it. I mean, everybody from Ric Flair right to Kenny Omega.
Dijak.
Yeah, Dijak did a story for it. Yeah, I love Dijak.
Yeah.
And our story is super fun, too.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So we did a short story about 2 guys that they break down on the way home from a wrestling show, and they go in to use the phone at this old lady's house, and she's a big wrestling fan. But she's a hat pin granny.
Yeah.
And halfway through the story, she finds out their heels, and she's like stalking them with the hat pin. And it's super, super fun. We have an old Tales from the Crypt cover for it, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
So, but Dijak's a good dude, and I'm really looking forward to seeing him shine on the big stage.
So beyond the fact that you said they weren't making the books or the comics that you wanted to read, well, what does that mean being a wrestling fan? What type of story arcs or characters are you looking forward to? And then as a complex question to that, who do you see nowadays translate into that character hybrid that you was looking for?
I always felt like people were buying wrestling licenses to make money while wrestling was hot. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't necessarily a passion project. You could just kind of feel like somebody was trying to cash in, or somebody's trying to sell action figures or something. And you can feel it when the heart's not on a project. You know what I mean? Like, that's like, there needs to be like sort of a vision, and I had a vision for Headlocked, and and we do it, and we did it, and that was I think always my main problem with the books. Like, you just didn't think that the people had passion for what they were doing, and I don't know. I mean, it's hard for me to say, definitively, but that's how it felt to me as a fan.
Yeah.
So the one thing I feel like you could never say about our books is that they weren't made with love. I mean, anybody that reads them, you can feel it. Yeah. Anybody who knows our story, anybody who sees my schedule, they see where I am every weekend. Yeah. Like, they know that we're about this life. You know?
No doubt. And then it's funny you bring up schedules. Where are you at next? I already checked out where you already been recently. I mean, we're at San Diego Comic-Con, the biggest con in the United States, the world. I'm sorry, but no sleep lost. You're back at it again.
Next weekend we're in Raleigh, then we're in Maine, then Boston, then New Jersey, then in Atlantic City, Philly double shot, then Chicago for StarCast. I got a week where I have to work a weekend, and then Philly for Keystone, Ring of Honor in Las Vegas, and then New York Comic Con, and it's Columbus Day.
I mean, fans, if that doesn't speak dedication to you, I mean.
And on top of that, I work 75 hours a week. I manage a warehouse. It's my regular job for now until, Headlocked goes all the way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we can push it over the line with, something. But, so, I mean, I was at a show in Buffalo a couple weeks ago. I was conducting a workplace accident investigation from my booth.
Okay.
I did a panel with Lita in Emerald City, and when she was talking, I was moving labor around on my warehouse on my phone. I was up till, everybody's out doing Hollywood parties and stuff, and I was in my hotel doing my payroll till 2 a.m. So, but that's how you do it. I don't want to be a starving artist. It allows me to take risks. Like this booth, we expanded this year. We're twice the size that we've been. Like this is our 10th year. Bought a bigger space. We're out here making a space for wrestling fans to feel welcome. For wrestling fans to have their own space. Because for years at Comic Cons it was sad wrestler alley, man. It was just older guys just trying to get picture money and whatever. And no disrespect, I get hustle's hustle, but I mean it wasn't a place where people could feel welcome or feel excited about wrestling and comics and whatnot. So like we're the biggest space at a ton of shows, like the bigger shows that don't bring wrestling guests in. New York Comic Con, we're the only wrestling booth. San Diego, we're the only wrestling booth. Like Mattel has wrestling stuff and they have WWE guys make appearances. We're the only booth dedicated to wrestling here. And there's an expense to that, and I'm happy to pay it. You know what I mean? Like, 'cause I'm happy to have a space where people can come. You want to talk about New Japan? You want to talk about Rick Rude? You want to talk about whatever, man? Like, I'm down. We love it all, and we're here to talk. We got all kinds of cool stuff. Like it means a lot to me that you know what I mean. That the wrestling fans, because when I used to go to shows, I didn't feel that way. So.
It's part of the reason I like the independent scenes. It seems to be a lot of people with a lot of heart who's still trying to prove themselves, and they bring this level of compassion to their fans that's pretty much unspeakable at times. I will just never forget my first, interactions with Cedric Alexander, and I'm seeing him work all over the world, and for him to take time to say, hey, what's going on, man? I can always get behind someone such as that and yourself, whose heart is strictly like for the business. So you did mention that you've been here, but also 2 days ago, you also was part of not only just the only wrestling panel here that was that spoke about the hybrid, the connection between comics and wrestling, but also too, from what I heard, that was actually the biggest crowd that you have had in years. And the one thing I wanted to speak on about that is that there was a lot of different people that had different backgrounds and stuff out there, but the fans literally picked your mind the entire time as they recognized a brilliance in there about character development, the struggles, and not only just that, people saw your passion of what you're doing. So with that being said, how does all that feel now?
I mean, it's awesome. There were a lot of rough years at the very beginning. The third show I ever did, I did in Toronto, and I was next to some like really obnoxious guests, and they were driving people away. So I got no traffic. I didn't make any money. I got sick at the restaurant afterwards. I got my cash box stolen, and my books, like my box of books, fell like it broke open and went down the escalator, and everybody stepped on them. Like that was my third show. Like I wanted to quit. I didn't go back to Toronto for 7 years because I was like terrified. And I had such high hopes because it's a big show. It's a big wrestling city. I went back eventually, slayed the demon, but like. I mean, there's a lot of times, like, and people don't see that, like, you see the shows and this is fun and this is cool, but, like, I live 3 hours from everywhere, like, in the Northeast. So, like, I go to shows everywhere. I'll go to shows in Boston, I'll go to shows in Philly, I'll go to shows in New York City or whatever, but every one of those is 5 to 6 hours in the car, usually by myself. You know what I mean? Like, and it can be lonely sometimes, you know what I mean? Like, you're in there, but you're thinking about stories and trying to do business, on the phone with people and whatnot, but it's, there's a lot more that goes into it. You don't necessarily share. You know what I mean? People see the highs and whatever, but there's a lot of rough spots. There's deadlines, and I got 76 texts on Wednesday from my job while I was here, and you know what I mean? It's crazy. It's. But that's the kind of the passion for what you're doing is what sustains you. Like that 6 hours in the car, man. Like I don't feel that. Like I'm gonna leave here. I'm gonna go right to the airport. I'm going to fly home. I'm going to go to work. And then, right from the airport, I'm going to drive right to work. I'm going to work 4 days. And then I'm going to leave work. I'm going to go right to the airport and fly to Raleigh. And that's fine. Like, that's all part of the love. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel that.
Yeah.
6 hours at Thanksgiving, my in-laws,
Yeah.
I feel every minute of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't ever show my in-laws this. Sorry,
Look,
Mom.
we'd love to have you down at Nova Pro. So, whenever you want to make that drive down into the Northern Virginia area and kick it with us with some wrestling there, we'll gracefully have you.
I'm dying to go, man. Like, I love the, there are places. I mean, I've heard a lot of good things about it, and I'm dying to try it.
Awesome. So, also you can officially hashtag Do the Drives. That's the official hashtag for all the independent wrestlers who drives there and there for their contribution to the wrestling scene.
Bob Evans knows what I do. He knows.
So first off, before we wrap up the show, I want everyone that's listening right now to make sure you step over to the Headlocked Twitter page at Headlocked Comics and take a look at the pinned tweet. This pinned tweet is something very special, not just special because of the premise behind it, but because that you can contribute to making this dream even more of a bigger dream. So let's talk about that. A pinned tweet from October 17th, I think October 2017 regardless. But let's talk about that tweet.
So I had a little Twitter interaction with The Rock, and out of that, The Rock allowed me to pitch to his production company. So I made the pitch. It's there. It's not a yes. It's not a no yet. I mean, also right when this happened is like right when it seemed like the brakes came off on the Rock train. He did Jumanji. He had to film Ballers. He did Skyscraper, Rampage. Like boom, 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 boom. So I'm just trying to get this thing over the line because that's obviously the game changer for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm cool with working 150 hours a week. I'd just rather work 150 hours a week on it.
Yeah.
But that whole thing was a crazy story. So I saw The Rock was going to the Stanley Comic-Con in LA.
Okay.
So he doesn't do shows. It's a smaller show. I'm like, here's a chance for me to get to The Rock. So I asked my wife, like, hey, I want to go to the Stanley Comic-Con and try to get my books in the hands of The Rock. Here's the problem. It's on our anniversary, and it's 4 days before she's having major surgery. My wife is a saint, and she's like, go do your silly thing. It's fine. So I book it, I get it all set up, and now I'm like, well, I probably should try to set something up ahead of time. Yeah. So I start calling my friends. I call Ric Flair, I call Jerry, I call Mick Foley, Hurricane, all these guys. I'm like, hey, man, can you put a word in with me for The Rock? And guys are like, dude, nobody's got The Rock's phone number anymore. Like, he's not that guy anymore. No one can get in touch with The Rock. Yeah. So I'm like, shit. So now I've booked this thing, and I put myself out there, but I can't go back to my wife with nothing, you know?
Yeah.
So I wrote a little thing. I put it up on Twitter, and people started, it was like an open letter to The Rock, but I want to meet him at the show. And then people started retweeting, and Foley and Lita and Daniels and Hurricane, all my friends, started banging it out. And then about 2 hours later, he responded and was like, I can't take anything from you at the show, but here's my team. You can pitch it to my team. So, it was cool, but also then now I went from sort of clumsily handing my books to The Rock to now making a formal pitch to a production company, which is a whole nother level of work. Yeah. And my wife's having major surgery in 4 days.
Yeah.
So I did it. I don't think I slept for 4 days. Yeah. I did it. I got it to him. It's there. And if people want to see Headlocked on the small screen, ideally, we'd like to do television, something episodic. Yeah. Just hit up The Rock. I mean, primarily $7. Danny Garcia, all the people associated with that, and I think that's what happened was, I tagged all of those people in that thing, and 300 retweets is probably a cool breeze through The Rock's timeline. You know what I'm saying? But everybody else, that probably ruined your day.
Yeah.
So let those people know that this is what you want to see. You know what I mean? That's how we bring this thing home. Okay. I mean, that's how The Walking Dead got made.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's and I'd really, with the success of Glow, I feel like right now is the time. There's never going to be a better time for us to try to get this thing over the line.
Right on. Look, again, the power of social media, ladies and gentlemen, and anybody who's watching, just step over to Headlocked Comics on Twitter and click that retweet and at The Rock. I mean, I'm co-signing something because I see the heart in it. The foundation, the names he's dropped that also believe in it. This is all for the right cause. If you want to see a man's dream come true that is legitimately working hard to do it, you can be a big influence by just simply a retweet and an ad. And let's get this off the ground. And plus, we don't want this man in the doghouse.
Seriously, it's all right. I mean, everything's good with my wife. I got retweeted by The Rock, so everybody's like, "Oh my God," so we're good. I mean, I think everybody's kind of like, well, you got the biggest movie star in the world to take a look at your stuff.
Yeah.
So even if it doesn't go anywhere, but that's, you know what they say,
That's half
man.
the job.
I didn't come this far just to come this far.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I'm still out here. I'm still, you know, trying to match the guy's intensity. You know what I mean? I'm on the road every weekend. I'm working, like, you know what I mean? I'm trying to keep up with him.
Yeah.
So you know, so maybe he shows, you know, maybe he recognizes that.
Yep. All right. So before we sign out, anything else you want to plug before we get out of here?
Nah, man. All of our social media is Headlocked Comic. It's all run by me. You know, shoot me a message. You know, you want to talk some wrestling, you want to talk whatever. You know, I answer things when I can. I mean, but you can get books, you can get our, you know, all of our stuff. Check us out, see what we're about, and you know, other than that, man, we're just we're gonna be in your town probably at some point. You know, we're everywhere. So you know, come out and say hey, man. Crisp high five, all about it.
There you go, Michael Kingston, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.